All right. Hello, tea family. How are you this evening? I want you to say hello. Welcome to the replay if that's how you're watching us and joining us. I know a lot of people watch on the replay, so they don't always see it live and then they catch up with us later. That is perfectly great. We appreciate you. We want you to participate as well. Please say hello and let me know what you're drinking tonight in the chat or the comments, depending on what you're doing. I know I have my handy dandy assistant who will be helping me monitor all that. We're going to be having some fun, some kind of seasonal fun with tea. We're going to talk about some mysteries, hiding maybe even in your teapot, maybe some myths. I'm definitely going to have a giveaway. Surprise! There's going to be a giveaway. But if you have any question at any point, just go ahead and put it in the chat or comments, depending on which platform you're joining us for. Diane is with us and she's drinking hot ancient green dragon. That is awesome. That is nice. Today is definitely a day for hot tea where I am. It has been a gloomy, kind of chilly day. I know tomorrow we're not supposed to make it out of the 50s. Or was that today? Today, we're not supposed to make it out of the 50s, which for October isn't bad, but we had 90s just last week. So kind of a sharp temperature drop. So we'll say welcome. Kim is enjoying Winter's Kiss. That is awesome. But yeah, we always want to hear, even if you're watching a replay or live with us, we love to hear what you're drinking. Sometimes I'm only drinking water. Sometimes other people are drinking lemonade. It's all things. Get bonus points if you're drinking something seasonal like Dancing Plum or Appealing. Those are out. I know we have had some people enjoying Dancing Plum. We've gotten really great feedback on that. I am working on a couple of other things, but I wanted to say we're going to get started. And even if you think of something later and you have a question, go ahead and put it in the chat or comments, even if it's after. We have people on replay and we have people live and they might think of something later. So that's okay. Put it in there. We still read all the comments and we want to respond to them. So we're going to start with some tea. And the reason we're going to start with tea is we're going to start with some breakfast blend. And I have a purpose. It is just a blend of black teas that I have here. But we are definitely going to start with that. Because, like I said, it's a gloomy, cooler day. And so I want to go ahead and get it. And I am going to use one of our infusers. We talked about those. And if my handy dandy assistant will hand me, there we are. Now, as you can see, we've got a seasonal theme going on, including a completely black teacup for Friday's Halloween event. Sometimes it's fun to do little things. We've always just done kind of pumpkins and fall kind of things. We are not into the scary stuff in my house. We don't need to deal with any of that, but I will put some tea out. If you could give me 3 minutes on the clock, please. Thank you. You're awesome. I appreciate you so much. And there you are. It looks blurry to me, but I'm thinking it's okay for you. I think it's just the way my glasses are with the progressives, everybody. But that's our breakfast blend. Just a nice hearty. Now, thankfully, I don't have an issue with caffeine. I can go ahead and brew it. But there's a reason why we are doing it this way. And if my handy dandy assistant could hand me the cup that is over there cooling. We're actually going to make 2 different things of tea today. So right now, 3 minutes on a black tea for the first brew. Of course, you can brew it 3 times. I need that right there. That's been cooling. All right, perfect. Okay, but we are using it for a reason. You're going to find out. We're going to keep going. So I thought today we're going to talk about some like spooky myths and maybe some things about tea, some fun facts that you haven't heard before. I definitely dug in. It was funny when I went to look and look up some more. There was a couple that I've already said, and I don't want to give anybody an advantage when it comes to the giveaway that I'm going to be doing later today. So since we're going to be making 2 things with tea, we've got this brewing. just a simple black tea. Okay. Let's see. I've got that ready to go. Got breakfast blend over here. All right. This is the perfect cup of tea for today, but we are going to talk about a myth or maybe four. All right. So myth number one, we're going to kind of call it tea and ghosts. In 18th century England, so that would have been the 1700s, tea leaf reading wasn't fortune telling as much as it was people believed that actual spirits could be whispered through the patterns in your cup, and that's why it became. And some even brewed it under the full moon to enhance the psychic visions. And really, it's kind of like the clouds. You know, you sit out there as a child or maybe even as an adult. I don't know. I've done it. And you lay out and you look at the sky on a, spring or summer day, and you just kind of look at the clouds and you try and see the different shapes. It's the same thing. It is just for fun. But some people took it very seriously. Did I see something? Huh. It was almost like there was something there. All right. So have you ever done something like that? Tried to look, left your tea leaves in your cup and tried to look at them and guess at shapes and things like that? It can be fun. Another myth, we'll call this one the cursed teapot. Oh, there's our 3 minutes. So we can take this out. And then as you can see, just a nice, beautiful black tea coloring. I'm going to let that cool for a second. All right. We're going to talk about the cursed teapot. This is kind of an older tale from Japan. It's about a teapot that turned into what a tanuki, forgive the pronunciation, kind of like a mischievous shape or shifting spirit. So the legend is said that if your teapot starts whistling at night, it might not be from steam, it might be from something else. So I could play eerie music right now or something on that idea, but I won't. In my house, it's much more likely either Rich or myself or someone got up and made a pot of tea in the middle of the night back when we had a whistling kettle that we used more than our electric teapot. And that is another myth. So anybody else see anything going on in the background? I feel like I'm being watched behind myself. All right. Eek, it's a ghost tea bag. Okay, so it is a ghost tea bag. I do have my handy dandy assistant. Before I go into myth number 3, he's actually going to come and sit right here. And once again, it's time for your renewal of how to tie your tea bags when you make them as a little ghost. So you ready with the tea bag and your stuff? Oh, you didn't think you had to? So you were just going to make the ghost fly by? That's all you were going to do? Okay, so I guess you guys are not getting a refresher. I thought he was going to give you a refresher. All right, so let's talk about myth number 3. Oh, never mind. Hang on.
Here we go. Y'all got this here. Got your little tea bag. You pull it all the way up like this. I tied it off here.
Go ahead.
And what you do is take it and go around it. And then on the back side, you push this little guy up through. Whoop. Make a little head. There we go. See, you got a little.
Thanks.
You want an extra black tea?
No, thanks. Thanks for the refresher, though. Appreciate it. Appreciate the refresher. Okay. That's why you're here? Okay. I'm glad to know. All right. There's your refresher course, everybody. All right. So let's talk about myth number 3. We're going to call this one the sleep stealer. I will tell you that a lot of us feel like sleep is sometimes stolen from us. Excuse my grammar for a second there. So this is folklore that actually claimed that after drinking tea, or drinking tea after midnight could potentially let evil spirits borrow your dreams. And that's why in some villages, tea was only served before sundown, or tea was only served in the morning. Good thing we can drink serene sunrise or breakfast blend all year round. We don't have to worry about that. But that was kind of what they thought. There's been a lot, actually, of different theories, not just with tea, but eating certain foods after a certain time will give you good dreams or bad dreams. Let's see. Refresher course, which the much needed sound effects. Betsy, yes. I am just thankful the sound effects are free. If the sound effects were not free, I would be in bankruptcy. Because I always have lots of sound effects around here. So there you go. All right. So myth number 4, and this one, open up your history books and you'll remember the witch trials. And a lot of times, even people that were just using herbal remedies like chamomile and sleep and things like that, or for health benefits, a lot of our apothecary type people were called witches. And so they might have just wanted some mint tea, or they might have been drinking some chamomile tea, but they still had to be very careful in that, because anybody who was brewing things, even a tea, were sometimes called out as witches. And that was not a good thing, because tea is delicious. So you really had to watch, and even people who grew herbs or had any kind of healing tea. So you had to be very, very careful, so that you didn't do that. So that's not really truly a myth. The myth was that they were in fact witches. We know that they were just enjoying some tea or getting the medicinal benefits. So yes, wonder if that was before they knew about caffeine. I don't know, Kim. That's a really good thought. That could have been before they knew about caffeine and keeping you up, or giving you not allowing your mind to calm down, and maybe that led to like bad dream kind of thing. That would be very interesting. Also for the witch kind of thing, if you have a lot of caffeine and let's say you're not drinking a lot, and then all of a sudden you have caffeine, you get the caffeine effects and your personality, you're talking faster or things like that. That definitely could have been something that added to it, that kind of personality change. A lot of people drink the coffee. I don't know, but it's interesting. All right, so now we are going to make a spooky mocktail. All right. So what I had our handy dandy assistant give us earlier is, so here is some previously brewed and mostly cooled down breakfast blend. And I'm actually going to brew it in this, and then we're going to pour it in a different glass. And then what I did is I made a blueberry simple syrup, which I just crushed. Oh, let's see, a quarter cup. I'll probably only use about 1/8 of a cup of frozen blueberries. I put a pinch of cane sugar, of some organic cane sugar. You could use, like, I don't know, an appropriate amount of honey or maple syrup that you could add to it. And then I just added about a tablespoon of water, and I let it heat for a little while, and then I just kind of took my muddler and then I crushed up my berries. And I'm not going to take a lot. This is going to be I just wanted to make a blueberry simple syrup. And so I'm not going to worry about you all seeing it as much as I didn't want to spill it all over everything. So as you can see, I've just kind of added just a little bit to the bottom. And I'm making this. Now, normally I would do about 6 or 7 ounces of the tea. I would do probably, depending on how sweet I wanted it, maybe 1 ounce of that blueberry fresh syrup. But I do want some like blueberries still in there. I would put in about, I don't know, a teaspoon to a tablespoon of lemon juice, just a little bit of acid to cut kind of the sugar that's in there. And we're going to stir this up a little bit. Now, something else you could do is, and as you can see, I've kind of got some chunks in here. I want that because I'm making a spookier tea. But if you had like a straight blueberry syrup or a blackberry syrup or something on that idea, it would be perfect in here. You'll see that it gives it a really beautiful color. Now, a couple of other things that I do want to say. Sometimes people don't want blueberries, or they want something simple. They're like, I don't have time. I'm not going to pick on any names, but I know a lot of people, they're like, I don't have time to take 5 minutes to make the blueberry simple syrup. What you could always do is pick whatever berry you like, first of all. And then I'm going to say you could pick a jam. Now, this one is an apricot jam. That would actually, if I wanted it, I could put that in there. But you could put whatever kind of jam in. I would put about a teaspoon to a tablespoon, depending on how sweet you wanted it. And I like the idea of the jam because I like the idea of the chunks of the fruit in it as opposed to a jelly. And you could put anything like that. So instead of having the blueberries in there, you're going to have your fruit from the jam, and you could pick whatever one you like. So there's a little pro tip on making a tea mocktail. Now, as always, we're going to put it in our fancy glass. Y'all did not see that mess that I just made. Did not see that mess that I just made. Just saying. I will need a towel at some point, honey. Now, I like my drinks fizzy, so I'm going to add ginger ale. And the reason why I like the ginger ale so much is I like that ginger flavor. But there are times when I don't want any of the sugars or anything like that. Thanks, love. I appreciate you. In which case, I would go with just like a sparkling water, a soda water, or something on that idea. Now, I wanted to make it, and normally there would be, so it kind of gets a little spooky too, because I'm going to take some of the mashed up or the macerated blueberries and kind of put it in the top. It's going to add a spooky feel to our mocktail. All right. Now, you also notice I did not add very much. I added probably about 2 or 3 tablespoons of the ginger ale. That's because I don't want it super sweet from the soda, but I do want a little bit of that ginger. You could use a ginger beer. Welcome, Stephanie. I could use a ginger beer in here anyway. And remember, whatever flavors that you're going to like, if you like tonic water, my handy dandy assistant loves tonic water. I can't stand it. I like soda water. He can't stand it. It was always interesting if we would go out to eat. I would order a soda water and he would order a tonic water. And it was always like, who's going to be brave enough to try it first in case they accidentally mixed it up, which they did a lot of the time. And so inevitably one of us was making a face, but then we were like, okay, now we have the right ones. So, but this is where, you know, that jam with the preserves, you're going to have a little bit at the bottom of your cup. And then if you really want to finish it off in a fun style for your tea mocktail, we are not going to put ice cream on this. But what I did do is I let some cotton candy that we got go flat, and I'm just going to break off a piece. Now, you can make cotton candy. It is just simply sugar and a little bit of food coloring. And I want to say there's one other thing in there, but you can make your own. But I like the idea that you've got it kind of like this little bit in the top. You could kind of put a piece right here. Just something little fun. Make it interesting. And then I'm going to say cheers as I enjoy a sip of my blueberry mocktail. Okay? Yeah, you like that one? Okay. You all can name the next mocktail. I get it. I get it. I've been hanging out with Rich too much. I'm almost into the dad jokes now. It'll be okay. Now, one of the reasons why I really like this combination is I get the black tea. And this one is caffeine free because it was the third blend. I'm getting a little sweetness. I get a hint of the blueberry, which really brings out the flavor of the black teas. And then I have the ginger. I don't really taste a lot of the lemon, but the flavors work really, really well. Now, if you didn't want to do this with a black tea, let's say you're a green tea gal or a green tea guy, you could very easily do like a lemon zinger tea, which is green tea, lemon zest, ginger, and lemongrass. And that would have a different flavor. I wouldn't put the lemon juice in it at that point in time. And I would definitely go with a soda water as opposed to a ginger ale because you already have the ginger component. But you could very easily do that. And you could add your jam or your blueberries and your blueberry syrup. But that is one of the things that I thought I would share with you. It's a fun little mocktail. It has the blueberries at the bottom. The cotton candy kind of dissolves really quick, but I don't know if y'all can see, but it kind of adds this mysterious element over the blueberries at the bottom. And so it's just a fun little thing. But there's my mocktail for the day. Feel free to go with a different name other than a blueberry mocktail, just because you know it's blueberry. I couldn't resist. Sometimes you just got to do stuff like that. So I thought I'd talk about some of the strangest tea facts that you may or may not know. But fact number one: tea was once smuggled in graves. So during the 1700s, smugglers in England actually hid tins of tea in coffins. And this was in order to sneak it past tax collectors. Apparently, no one has ever liked paying taxes in their life, so we've all tried to avoid it from the Bible times on down. So they would sneak the tea tins in coffins, get it past the tax collectors, and then they would go and they would dig it up. And so a lot of times people would call it graveyard tea. And that kind of meant that it was tea that had not had tax paid on it, but they had smuggled it in a coffin. Bet you didn't know that? Let me know in the chat or the comments if you knew about that. If anybody knew that one, my money's on Betsy, but that's just me. All right. So the question also is, let me know if you would drink tea if you found out it was smuggled in a coffin. Would you do that? I don't know that I could do that. Even if it was in a tin, I think that would freak me out a little bit. I'll be honest. I don't know that I could do that one. All right. All right, Stephanie did not know that. Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate you being honest. I don't know. Would you drink that? I mean, it's in a tin, so it's probably fine, but there's a creep factor to that. Okay. Fact number 2. And Stephanie, I'm with you. If it is my only choice, if I had tea or no tea, I'm with you. I'm with you. No. Nope, none of us knew that either. Okay, well, I was thinking if anybody knew it would be Betsy, but okay. Fact number 2, it's call it the haunted tea room. There is, in fact, a tea room in Cornwall, England, rumored to be haunted by a Victorian woman who always orders the same pot of Darjeeling tea. The staff says that the kettle will boil itself around 3 a.m. every night. So that is said to be something that happens all the time. I wonder what she really loved so much about Darjeeling. Was that popular at the time? Is it really her favorite? Because so many times what I find is people drink the tea that's popular and they don't like it. Even now, matcha tea is very popular to the point that Japan cannot keep up with production. So many of the farmers over there are having to decide, do they continue to make it the way they've made it for generations and then just not produce as much? Or do they use modern farming and produce more faster? And, my thought is I would rather you stick to the older methods because I don't like it when modern science meets my food sometimes. But, a lot of times people will order. I've had people come up and like, well, I drink matcha because it's the popular tea and everybody's drinking it. I'm like, don't drink what everybody else is drinking. Drink what you enjoy. That's one of the reasons why there's so many different flavors and blends out there. Drink what you enjoy for tea, not just because something is popular. I know people that would love like a London fog latte and other people that are like, I do not have anything to do with that. I am not a huge Earl Grey or Earl's blend fan, but they might have a very similar latte with something like Serene Sunrise or a chai. They might have a chai latte and love it, but not the other one. So, all right, fact number 3. Fact number 3, the tea in the Titanic. So after the Titanic sank, divers did reportedly find perfectly preserved tins of tea in the wreck. They were still completely sealed. When they were not all open, but when some of them were opened, they were still fragrant. Obviously not as fragrant as it would have been before, although that's pretty incredible at that pressure and everything and that temperature. and to stay sealed that long, that was pretty incredible. I think I found that part as fascinating as the fact that the tea was still fragrant and deemed drinkable. So, all right, fact number 4. Tea leaf reading that we kind of talked about earlier was tasseography, and it was a very trend in the 1700s. Typically, when people switched from coffee to tea, because tea became much more mysterious with the tea leaf patterns and things like that. Although they didn't really just use it to predict the future as much as marriages or deaths or the shapes of leaves. I would rather look at the clouds, but Kim's like, see, tea can keep a while. I don't know. I don't know that tea kept out here is at the same pressure and temperature and sealing, but anyway. So, all right. I've shared a bunch of tea trivia with you. It's time for our giveaway. And I'm going to be giving a sample. I'm actually going to give out a about a ½ ounce sample of one of my teas, and then I'll pick a seasonal tea. I'll even let that person pick the seasonal tea. So that will include Appealing Dancing Plum, Mocha Mint, or Holiday. You can choose from one of those 4 teas if you win. Everybody ready? Everybody ready? There's no, we haven't perfected the blueberry tea that we've been working on. Nobody's going to compete for one blueberry. I don't know if you all could hear him. He's like, they can compete for a blueberry, just one. I'm like, no. All right. So I have a series of questions, and we're going to see who gets the correct answers, and we'll take it from there. Okay? All right. So you have to tell me if this is fact or fiction. You can put true or false, but fact or fiction. Put your answers in the chat or comments. We're going to see who's going to win the prize tonight. All right. Everybody ready? Everybody ready? Okay. The ghost ship tea. Fact or fiction? In 1822, a ship carrying hundreds of pounds of tea disappeared off the coast of India. And when it was found, the only thing missing was the tea. The crew and the cargo were still there. True or false? And no Googling. We're not cheating with the internet, people. True or false? Let me know what you think. See if I can hear from everybody. 1822, a ship having hundreds of pounds of tea off the coast of India disappeared. When it reappeared, everything was there with the exception of the tea. All the other cargo was there, the people were there, everything. Fact or fiction? All right. Diane says true. Stephanie says fact. Kim says true. All right. You are correct. It's actually based on a real thing that happened. It was a true legend. The tea was so valuable at that point in time that pirates would steal it and leave everything else untouched because they didn't want to mess around. They just wanted the really high value items. So they did not, in fact, take any of the other things. So the rest of the cargo would be fine and they would just steal the tea. So, all right, everybody has 1 point. All right, 1 point. All right, round 2. This, we're going to kind of call it the Emperor's Sleep Curse. Fact or fiction? There was a Chinese emperor who once banned tea because he believed it kept his court awake at night and made them talk too much. Tea snapping. Yep, that was it. Nope. You can't Google. You can Google that story now, Stephanie, but not the next answer. So, do you think it was fact or fiction that Chinese emperor? Now I know that Betsy's got an advantage on this one here, but fact or fiction? There was a Chinese emperor that did not like tea. He wanted to discourage tea drinking because he felt like people we're talking too much and disruptive. So I've got Diane saying true. I've got Stephanie saying fact. All right. Waiting to hear in. What's my handy dandy assistant say?
False.
False. And Kim says false.
He wanted them awake and at the helm. He wanted them not to sleep.
And handy dandy assistant and Kim are correct. The emperor actually encouraged tea drinking, but the rumor was spread later on in Europe. Isn't it funny? We think gossip is kind of a more modern thing, but it was even centuries later, this fallacy has. He really liked tea. He felt like they were more attentive. They got more done. He encouraged tea drinking. But that is still a rumor that was heard later on. All right. So if you got that one, add one more point to your score. Okay. Ready for round number 3, everybody? Okay. In 1897, a British newspaper, that was Betsy. She said it was too important to their culture. Okay, that would have been a good reason, except that wasn't the reason, but that's okay. You still got it. Okay, in 1897, a British newspaper reported that a teapot exploded after being heated too long on a coal stove. Okay, Stephanie's like, I figured the caffeine would keep them up. I know, Stephanie, like that would definitely be it. Apparently he wanted them to stay awake, get stuff done. So 1897, a British newspaper reported that a teapot exploded after being left on the coal stove too long. Fact or fiction, people? Fact or fiction? All right, let me know. Let me know what you think. I keep switching back between. I'm not used to having 2 drinks. Usually Rich takes one by now. All right. Kim says true. Stephanie says fact. All right. Handy dandy assistant, what are you saying? Handy dandy assistant says no. And Diane says true. And the ladies are correct this time. I'm sorry, handy dandy assistant. That is true. They actually felt like, let me look that up real quick. They actually felt like that it was an early metal teapot prototype, and they felt like that it was sealed so well that it came under pressure, but it wasn't sealed enough to maintain the higher pressure, and so the tea literally exploded. So it became this dangerous thing, and it's one of the reasons why so many people would not use that kind of teapot for quite some time. All right, round. So if you got that correct, add one more point to your score. All right, fact or fiction? We're going to call this one the moonlit harvest. Some rare teas are actually harvested only under the full moon because farmers believe it gives the tea a smoother flavor. Fact or fiction? What is it? Fact or fiction? So I've got Kim. 32. Yep, I've got everybody coming in. Fact, true, 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 true. Yes, you are correct. That one is true. That there are some teas, they typically are more expensive, and we've talked about that, so I figured I'd throw one in there that you all knew the answer, so everybody's getting another point. All right. Let's see. Everybody put in the chat or comments. I think Kim is, no, I think there's a tie right now. Put in the chat or comments how many points you have so far. I think I have like a 3-way tie going on right now. Can't remember if Kim got one wrong. I know she was ahead.
I have 7.
You do not have 7 points. There haven't even been 7 questions. There haven't even been 7 questions. So put in the chat or comments how many points you have. Diane has 3. I've asked 4 questions. So if you think about it, I got 1 wrong. Okay, Kim has 4. Stephanie has 3. So it looks like Kim is our winner. We do not have a tie, but I'm going to ask another question anyway, just because I know you all like these kind of things. And that is bonus round for everybody. And I think you'll like the bonus round. The bonus round is, do you know another tea myth that we haven't talked about on one of our lives before? You can put yes or no in the comments. And if you have, please share it with me at some point. You can try and stump me if it's true or false. And while you are writing that in the comments, I do want to remind you on November 6th at 7 p.m. Central Time, we are going to be having our live sale. I also want to remind you that this Saturday is November 1st, which means we're getting awfully close to somebody's birthday. And so on November 1st, we have Mocha Mint and Holiday that will be available. They're already available to our VIPs, but they will be coming out. I wanted to make sure that I put that out there. Tea myth or fact, a cup of tea will make you go pee. That is true. That is true. Sorry, you're not going to stump me on that one, handy dandy assistant. I do know that one. All right. Nothing is coming to mind for Stephanie. All right. Well, I figured it would be a fun tiebreaker. So it looks like congratulations to Kim. You'll have to let me know which of the 4 holiday or seasonal blends you would like a ½ ounce of. Not off the top of our heads. Hey, I can't be the only one challenged on a Sunday evening. So, but I wanted to say thanks for joining me. I do encourage you to try the blueberry tea. It actually is really good with a black tea. And like I said, you can use blueberry. I did blueberries and then the blueberry that you could use a blueberry jam, but whatever jam you wanted. It is a really great flavor. It's a fun, easy mocktail. Get small kids, you do the little grapes in there for your eyeballs or that kind of stuff on a spooky day if you like that kind of stuff. But whatever you want to do, it's just a fun, delicious mocktail. And next week, we were challenged to answer. Yes, Kim, that was it. You were challenged to answer. So next week, we will be here next Sunday, 6 p.m. Central Time. And we are going to be talking about Mocha Mint because Mocha Mint will be back. And we're going to do a couple things with that. And yep, the holidays are coming up. So holiday tea we'll talk about probably the next week. But we're going to be specifically talking about Mocha Mint next week. And again, if you have any other questions or anything, feel free to bring them out, especially since this month, once we get to November, I will have to have everything prepped really far in advance because we're very busy on all the weekends until we get into Thanksgiving. So, all right, everybody, thanks for joining me. Hope you had fun. Kim, reach out and let me know which of the 4 teas you would like your free ½ ounce of. And I will see everybody next week. Have a great one. Watch out for tea ghosts. That's what the handy dandy assistant says in case you couldn't hear. All right. See you later, everybody.